specifically looking at, sorry, I'm just getting, good, we're here. We're specifically looking at social media strategy and social media planning. So all of today it's less focus on how to use Instagram, when to use Instagram versus Facebook. It's less about that and more about overarching. What is your strategy? What are you talking about and when? And where does that content come from? How do you break up some of these big topics in your business into all of the little bite-sized pieces that are needed for social media? So I'm just getting my moderator set up here. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. So if that's the kind of stuff you're interested in if you've been to a workshop or two, or you've dabbled in social media, and yet it continues to be a grind, it continues to be a daily struggle to get enough content, to have content planned in advance, to have content scheduled in advance, and to be talking about things that really matter, then this is the right place for you. So my name is Christy Guthrie. I'm in Kitchener, Ontario, and I've been working in content marketing, digital marketing and content marketing for, close to 15 years now. I'm also a small business owner myself, which just gives me one extra layer of empathy to understand what you are going through, because this is a lot easier when you're Coke or Pepsi or Lululemon, when you've got entire staff dedicated to this, when you've got resources, you've got graphic design resources, you've got video resources, you have a marketing manager, you have a community manager. This starts to get a lot easier. When you are an individual who owns a business, who's doing this alongside 100 other things, it's a little bit harder. And yet the opportunity is the same. The opportunity is as vast and as rich for you as it is for Coke and Pepsi. So what we want to do is figure out how can we as small business owners do this efficiently and effectively and sustainably in order to tap into the opportunities that exist on social media. So that's what we're here to talk about today. You're not going to get a copy of these slides necessarily, but you will. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this stuff set up. You will be able to access a 2-page handout with the key takeaways here at camptech.ca/social strategy. I'll show you this slide again at the end, so you can grab that link, download the link. Hey, can you guys hear me? Can somebody say in the chat whether or not you can hear me? Just getting the tech figured out, but if you can, okay. Sounds like you can hear me, which is great because I love talking to an audience more than to myself. Again, my name is Christy. I'm going to guide you through the next 90 minutes. I've got Libby on the line. She's managing the chat. We'll be taking your questions throughout, so she will answer as many questions as she gets, as she's also a professional in the space, in the chat. Others she'll queue up for me, and I'll find time throughout the presentation to take and answer some questions. So if you've got questions, fire them into the chat, and we'll answer them the best we can. I can't promise that we'll get to every question, especially if they're super specific. We probably won't be able to cover them, but we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Okay, so I guess I don't have an agenda slide. What we're going to talk about is social strategy basics. Then we're going to go into looking at how to actually schedule content, all of the things that it depends on. We're gonna kind of unpack. I'm going to show you some really specific examples. Then we're going to look at editorial calendars and talk about measurement and what you need to be thinking about in terms of making sure that you're tracking the right things in order to make sure that you're continuing to spend your time in the best possible places. Okay? Again, this is the nature of strategy is such that a lot of it's going to depend. A lot of it's going to depend on who you are, what you sell or offer, who your audience is. And sorry, can you hear my dog? He's chewing his phone and he refuses to understand that I'm on a very important work call. I apologize for that. So I'm going to tell you when it depends, and then I'm also going to give you, my goal is to give you enough decision-making criteria, enough of that lens so that you can figure out what does it depend for me. That's what I would like for you to leave with today. So let's just dive in. Social media is like going to a party, okay? So it is going to, different parties are going to require a totally different approach, right? So as we think about social media and the different social media channels, it's like going to a different party. And so you want to think, before you set up shop, before you even start to think about what to write or what photos to take or what videos to include, you need to think about, I don't know why this is bouncing around. You need to think about, what party are you attending? Is it a tea party? Is it a sweet beach bonfire birthday party? Is it a kid's birthday party and you're there with the rest of the adults? Is it a kind of a networking, mingling, conference party? Is it a birthday party with close friends? Like, these are the kinds of things you need to understand about each of the social platforms that you're getting set up on, because it's going to dictate what you wear, what you talk to people about, how loud you are. It's going to dictate who's there. It's going to dictate what's appropriate. So before you head to any of these social media parties, stop and think, who's going to be there? What am I going to wear? What am I going to talk about? What am I hoping to achieve? And on some social media channels, you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt and flip-flops, you're carrying a cooler, and your whole purpose is to connect with people and get them deep in your relationship so that when they leave, they're like, God, that Christy's so fun. I just love when she comes to our parties. Some parties, you're in pantyhose, heels, eyeliner, you got business cards, and a name tag, and you're there to really identify specific decision makers or specific opportunities. You're there to talk business, and you're there to ask questions and listen to what people's business concerns are, and then help try to add value to that conversation in real time. If you think about those as the two poles and everywhere in between, these are the social platforms. And this is why most businesses are on more than one platform, because there's different people on each platform and they're there for different reasons. So I like to think about social media like a party. And I would invite you to think about it like that as well. So also, as we're heading into social media planning, what am I going to put on my Facebook page? It's important to stop and think about, what am I trying to achieve with social media, or specifically with this Facebook page? Is it an awareness goal? Are you trying to teach people that you exist because you're brand new, or you're brand new to a space, or brand new to a whole pile of people? Are you looking to showcase your brand or your product? Are you trying to differentiate? Are you trying to attract the right clients? Are you trying to showcase the importance of your work? Are you looking to build a community? Or are you trying to do all of the above? Or are you trying to actually sell, right? Is this is your social media focus actually building a sales funnel, actually creating sales? Is it about getting more bigger sales? Is it about getting click-through sales? What are you actually trying to achieve with your social media? Super important. Who are you trying to reach, right? So, if you've been in any workshops with me, you've likely seen this exact slide. It's this idea that in order to be successful on social media, you need to understand in a really intimate and real way who you're trying to reach, who is your audience, who's on the other end of the screen that will be interacting with your content. So, you want to start with the basics, the demographics. Who are they age-wise? Who are they gender-wise? What kind of education do they have? What kind of income do they earn? Where are they geographically? Are they married? Are they not married? Does that matter? Then you want to dig deeper, right? You psychographically really want to understand, what do these people believe? What kinds of opinions do they hold? What kind of personality traits do they have? What kind of lives are they living? What's their scene? What are they into? Really understanding, painting in the lines, putting flesh on the bones of a 30 to 45-year-old woman who lives in Kitchener, who's a college grad, right? That you start to paint a picture on. But then specifically, when you start to layer in the psychographics, we can start to see, is that woman a gamer who stays up really late and is into, Clash, I'm obviously not a gamer, but is into PC gaming and spends a lot of time on YouTube channels and blogs and actually gaming? Or is she a mom of young kids who's balancing work? Or is she a mom of young kids who's staying at home? Or is she a mom whose kids have left the nest already and she's starting a new life? Is she, you can see that those psychographics, the lifestyle, opinions, beliefs, whether she's what are her political leanings, what she believes about the pandemic. These are things, we don't mention the pandemic, got it. But these are the kinds of things that really start to help you understand who's on the other end of this phone so that you can connect with them in a real way. And if we're going to go through all of this work to plan and create and publish and interact with content, let's make sure we understand the audience so well that that this intersects with them in such a way that they buy something from you. As much as we want to say we're doing this to build community, and we are. We're building this to build relationships, and we are. As business owners, we are building those relationships so that they will turn into something productive for our business. So that's why this priorities and pain points column is just as important, because we also want to understand, where are the opportunities where we can add value to the lives of these people, and what does our product, service, or offering have that we can share with them in such a way that if they engage with us as a business, if they buy, if they shop, if they hire us, then that purchase will help them with some of their biggest priorities. So understanding what keeps them up at night, what are the top priorities in their role or in their day, what are their alternatives to purchasing, and what's the best and worst part of their day and their job. So these are the kinds of things I would say, literally do not spend a lot of time or money on social media until you know this stuff, because otherwise you're creating content that's too broad and too open on maybe the wrong platform. So the work we're going to talk about today is the perfect way to get started and to have a plan from which you can really make sure you're connecting directly and with relevance with these people. Ideally, right, you have an established brand. So your organization has a vision, a mission, whether it's written down or lived. You've likely got a website and a logo and an elevator pitch. Some of those business basics you've got in place, because those are going to be kind of the underpinnings of the voice and the tone and the things that we talk about when it comes to creating social content. So know that having a goal, what am I trying to do on social media, is important. Knowing who your audience is, specifically, not just demographically, but as much as you can, knowing about them, is so important before you get started. And it's totally fine. It's going to be normal, not just fine, but normal and appropriate if you have multiple target audiences. Some businesses will have many, other businesses will have few, but the idea is to really paint the lines around who you're speaking to so that you can match up your audience with your social platform, with your social content in such a way that the content you're creating, they really like and find valuable, and all of those things. Okay? Where do you find this information? You could do interviews with your stakeholders. You could do surveys. You can observe the behavior and just ask a couple of casual questions as they come into the store. You can spend some time Googling, really like taking a good deep creep into the internet around people who you know are in your target audience. You can hire a market research firm who would actually do like a more statistically significant look at who your audience is. You can check out who are the people who follow brands that are like yours. So if you've got competitors who have a larger following or have a following, take a look at who's following them. And what are the kinds of things that those people are posting? What are the kinds of things that they're talking about? What do they look like from a demographic standpoint? What does their families and their houses and their neighborhoods look like? What kind of clothes are they wearing? What can you read into about lives and their opinions and beliefs, whether they're telling you directly or not, based on some of that looking around? Okay, so there's the more expensive, significant ways. There's really targeted personal survey and interview ways that will take some time, and then there's some more less statistically significant, but can be just as rich, kind of Googling R&D on the internet, on social platforms to see who's already there. Hopefully that gives you a starting point. So as you start to focus in from what am I trying to do, who am I trying to reach, we have to think about which platforms are you going to be active on. And lots of people who speak into these workshops will say you need to be on Twitter, because Twitter, I saw this come across my Instagram feed today, your small business has to be on Twitter. And I would say you don't have to be on Twitter. I would say you need to be on social media. And I would say to choose a channel that's going to reach as many of your most important target audience as possible, and focus on creating really good content there. And then when that starts to get easy, then add another channel. And when that starts to get easy, add another channel, as opposed to trying to do 3, 4, 5, 6 channels as best you can with not enough resources. I would say to focus small and focus on high quality, great engagement, building connections, having conversations with people on a single channel first. So you have my permission to not be on Twitter if it's not sustainable for your business. Well, is being on Twitter great for your business? Probably, yeah. If you have enough time to do it right, to do it well. And if you don't have enough time and you just have a Twitter icon on your website and you don't have any content on Twitter, that's me, right? And that's because I share with you the idea that doing this for yourself is hard. Doing this for my clients is easy, right? I love this stuff. I'm a content creator. A content strategy is my number one favorite thing. Doing it for myself is very hard. And you'd think it would be the opposite. You'd think doing it for myself should be the easiest because I know this stuff inside and out. But it's actually the hardest because I'm juggling 300,000 other things, because it feels personal and vulnerable, because fill in a whole pile of other excuses. So what I would say is focus on one channel and then grow out. The percentages that you see here are the percentages of businesses that operate on these channels. So you can see Facebook, Instagram are the biggest active channels, and then some of the more emerging platforms like Snapchat, TikTok, which we're not going to talk about in depth, are picking up a small amount of businesses. It's all going to depend on who you're trying to reach, and then what you as a small business owner or a small business person have the capacity to do. So let's just take a quick review of the different platforms to better understand who's there and what you would need to do to be successful operating there. So Instagram, the audience on Instagram is the majority of the audience on Instagram is 18 to 49 years old. Okay, they're about 50-50 male and female. So if you're targeting those people, they're on Instagram. They're probably on Instagram right now. 72% of teens use Instagram. So if you're targeting teens, they're probably on Instagram. On Instagram, there's a lot of features. If any of you were in my Instagram workshop last week, you know we did kind of a deep dive into your feed, your stories, your reels, your IGTV. We did live. We looked at all of the different features, and that's the beauty and the curse of Instagram is there's a lot of ways to create and publish content. So if you're operating on Instagram, expect to be doing photos, videos, writing awesome captions. Expect to be doing planned in advance, produced, really kind of high quality content, and this more in the moment, behind the scenes, kind of like instantly captured content as well. Again, you're going to be doing, if you're on Instagram, somewhere between 3 to 5 posts a week, including daily stories, and using as many features as possible. So it's a bit of a greedy channel in that if you're going to do it well, you need to be on it quite often. Facebook, on the other hand, everyone's on Facebook. Your grandparents are on Facebook, the kids are on Facebook, everyone's on Facebook. They're all using their phones, and I think it's like 1 million links get shared every hour on Facebook, or it's something wild. There's a lot of people on Facebook. The majority of those people, though, are 18 to 64, and about half of the people under 18 or over 65 are on Facebook. But they're logging in multiple times a day. Facebook users are quite active users compared to like LinkedIn users, for example. They're on there multiple times a day. Facebook has a lot of the same features: photos, videos, captions. You're going to experiment with long and short form content in terms of your post length to see what works for your audience. But you could get away with doing 2 or 3 posts a week plus paid ads on Facebook. LinkedIn is where your business-to-business stakeholders are. Your business stakeholders are on there. Potential clients, potential staff, those people who are somewhere between 25 and 50 years old, who are logging in probably not daily. And what they're looking for on there is thought leadership content. So they're not looking for recipes. They're not necessarily looking for home inspiration. They're not necessarily looking for weekend adventures, but they are looking for your thought leadership. It's a great place to show all of the expertise that you've collected in your career. And you can get away with doing 1 post a week and still being active on LinkedIn. I mean, any more than that, like if you're doing daily posts on LinkedIn, you run the risk of really kind of piling up in your followers' feeds because they're not logging in as much. So it requires less content to still be like a good active participant on the network. Of course, with every channel, the more and the better content you can invest in, people will engage with. It's really, social media is quite greedy in that sense. But these are just some general ideas, number-wise for you. Okay, YouTube as a social media platform, again, everybody's on there. About 78% of men and 68% of women watch YouTube. Around 90% of 18 to 49-year-olds use YouTube, so a lot of people are using YouTube. And so the kinds of activities that you'd be doing, like what you would need to produce, are videos, and then show notes. The idea that you're actually thoughtfully thinking about the captions and the episode description that goes right below your YouTube video. That's such an important place to add value above and beyond your video and to ensure you're using keywords. If you could do 1 video a week, that would be awesome for YouTube. If you could do 1 video a day, that would also be awesome for YouTube. But you could do 1 video a week on YouTube and be an active participant there. On Pinterest, you can see women are the majority of the audience on Pinterest. 66% of women 25 to 54 use Pinterest. Lots of millennials, increasingly Gen Z, Gen Z hasn't been there, but I don't know if they're promoting it more or Gen Z's finding it, but there are more and more Gen Z folks on there as well. And those people are looking to be inspired. It's a visual search engine. So the people who are on Pinterest are looking to be inspired. So you'll be creating and sharing pins and with images and search-friendly captions. That's the kind of activity you're doing on Pinterest, and you're going to be in Pinterest every week. So it's less content heavy, but you still need to be in there every week, making updates and adding to your boards. Twitter is a great place for finding these audiences: business leaders, journalists, people in politics. 6.45 million Canadian users, so there's not a ton compared to the 99% of everyone who's alive on Facebook, but there's still there's 6.5 million Canadians on there. 34% of females and 66% of males use Twitter, so you can see it skews male. The kind of activity you're doing on Twitter is tweets, right? So it's microblogging to maximum 280 characters, and you're doing this daily, okay? So at least 20 posts a week. Twitter moves really quickly, so the posts are shorter, but you need more of them. And we're going to talk, this whole workshop is all about how do you create that much content without it being your full-time job. That's what I'm hoping to help you with. So you know what you're trying to do, you know who you're trying to reach, and you've done a survey of what these platforms are and who's on them to start to kind of triangulate which of those platforms are best suited, or which of those platforms are platforms being used by your target audience, right? And then I would say this is the final decision-making criteria in helping you really figure out which platform or platforms to pull the trigger on is: what is the value and expertise that you're bringing to the social media table? So what kind of value will you be providing, and what is the benefit of following you? So if you are, if you run an inn in Prince Edward County, and half of the value you're creating is inspirational shots, is Prince Edward County travel guides and weekend ideas, and then you might choose a more visual storytelling account. If you are in a line of business where you're creating a lot of knowledge and reports and data and stuff that would be newsworthy, then maybe being on Twitter, where people are using it as a news source, would be more valuable for your time and for your business. So take a moment and think about, where is your audience now? How can you help them? And where will they be after they buy from you, after they engage with you? And then lay that over the Venn diagram of who you're trying to reach, what audience they are, which of those platforms is best suited to help you get them from where they are now to where they will be, the promised land, and try to make sure that the platforms help tell that story, help compel them to purchase. So if YouTube would be if you're running a cooking school, and YouTube might be an amazing place for you to be really showing what it is you do, what the spirit of your classes are, teaching some actual culinary skills. I mean, YouTube might be a great place, where Twitter might not be such a great place to camp out, because it's really hard to tell that story in 280 characters, right? So those are the things you're thinking about when you're trying to decide who to, or which platforms to choose. So, for some of you, that will be like, duh, yeah, we already have all of that figured out, we've done that. For some of you, that will be like, oh, wow, totally new. Both are good. Even if you've already thought about it before 2 years ago, maybe revisit it, relook at the social channels you've been on. Who is there? What value are you bringing? What is the benefit of following you on there? And use that kind of, those strategy basics to really take stock of what you're doing and making sure that the content you have been creating is really delivering on that promise. So moving on from there, you have to do those things first. Moving on from there, it's all about, okay, then how do we plan? How do I know what I should post? How do I know when I should post it? How often should I post it? And where does that content come from? I've got, I think, 5 steps. This is how I do it. This is how I do it in my business. This is what people pay me to do for them. The first thing to do is determine your company's storylines. So your storylines are 3 to 5 categories, content categories, that capture your value and differentiators, and that appeal to your audience. So basically, your storylines are almost put some boundaries around what you're going to talk about and help you focus on these 3 to 5 big, broad topics throughout all of your social media content, and ideally throughout all of your content, social media or content marketing content. So we're going to do this 5 by 5 by 5 exercise together. You can get a copy of this worksheet at camptech.ca/5x5x5. And it's going to be a view-only Google Doc, so you'll just make a copy of that Google Doc and you'll have an editable worksheet. Not editable, editable. Very important difference. So let's pop over there to it right now. Oops, it looks like this. So this 5 by 5 planner is a way in which you can map out your 5 target audiences and what they think about, care about, have questions about, transposed against a purchase funnel. So a purchase funnel is basically the idea that every time someone is making a purchase decision, they're moving through these stages of a funnel. They're being triggered that they need something. They look for something, a solution. They evaluate the available solutions. They purchase it, and then they stay with you. They rebuy. They become an evangelist, whatever that looks like. Depending on the scope of these purchases, this might all happen in 2 seconds. I'm hungry. I feel like chocolate. I go to Rexall. This doesn't happen to me. I go to Rexall. I wander around the chocolate aisle. I look at what's for sale. I think about how good the stuff for sale would taste versus how good the stuff that's not for sale tastes. I think about maybe I look at the calories depending how I'm feeling. I go to the cash register and I buy it. I have my Be Well Points card. And then if that experience felt safe in COVID, the parking was good, they were open when I needed them to be, they had a good selection, they'll probably be factors in me doing that all again, right? That's a purchase funnel. If you're buying a car or a house, a vacation, if you're buying a haircut, if you're buying a talent recruiter, right? Like the purchase funnel is the same, but the steps might take longer. So if you're making a big investment, the search, the evaluate might be months or years. If I'm making a simple purchase at Rexall, the buy is quite easy. It's quite standard and straightforward. If I'm buying some software that has a lot of considerations and options, and payment methods and procurement processes, then that buy considerations, there might be a number of things I have to consider before, and so that I know how to purchase. Okay, so that's the nature of this document. 5 of your target customers across the top, the 5 stages of the purchase funnel down the side, and what I want you to do is start to think about what are the 5 biggest decision-making factors, most frequently asked questions, or pieces of information that this person needs to know in order to move to the next step. So in this experiment, or this example rather, I'm a hair salon, right? And the kinds of people that I serve typically in my cool, trendy downtown hair salon are moms, 20 to 35-year-old moms, style influencers, 20 to 50-year-old moms, 18 to 30-year-old influencers who are really focused on their style and have really trendy tastes. Executive ladies, straightforward men, and fashion-focused men. That's what I'm calling my target audience. And below that label, behind that label, is all of the information that we looked at on one of those earlier slides, and really get who these people are. If your business has 3, that's okay. You'll do a 3 by 5 by 5. If your business has 8, I would challenge you to pick the 5 who are the most important moving the needle on your business. Then you're going to go in and each cell, you're going to fill out what are the triggers in this first section to needing a haircut. So for the moms, there's a special event. So they're getting their photo taken. Maybe they're doing family portraits. Maybe they're going to a wedding, or they want to look nice. Maybe it's an anniversary. Maybe they're going to a family reunion. There's some sort of thing happening, a special event where they need a haircut, want their hair changed, want their hair colored, whatever. Another reason why they might be triggered to call or look for a hairstylist, a hair salon, is that they want to change. They've just gone through a life event, it's the spring, but they want to change. Maybe they're dissatisfied with their current salon. They had a really bad haircut, or their current stylist doesn't really understand how to manage their hair texture, something like that. They saw someone's hair on TV that they love, like the Rachel cut. Do we remember this? Of course we do. When everyone wanted to have that Rachel from Friends haircut, that would be a trigger. They saw this haircut on TV and they're like, I want that. Or they were referred by a family or friend. So someone else is coming to see your stylist at your salon, and they told this mom, and now she's thinking about exploring further. Okay? There's no right or wrong answers, but what I would challenge you to do is really make sure that these are things that the person experiences, not the thing you wish the person experienced. So there's a difference between you creating your ideal customer and you understanding what your customers are doing. So then again, the next thing, so if that trigger happened, how would the mom, magnificent mom, find a salon or look for one? Would they Google? Would they ask their friends? Would they search the Explore page on Instagram? What kinds of stuff are they doing to look for a new salon? What are they using to evaluate? Is it pictures? Is it pricing? Is it the stylist? Is it years of experience? Is it location to their home? Is it the website? Is it how big or small the salon is? What are the kinds of things that the mom cares about? Is it evening availability? Is it daytime availability? Is it that she could bring her kids to the appointment? What would she care about? And on and on and on. And you can imagine the style influencers, their triggers might be, maybe they're trying to stay ahead of trends. Maybe they want to come in and film you dyeing their hair in mermaid colors. Maybe every month they get something new done to their hair. Maybe they're at the they're experiencing some online bullying and they just want to feel great. I don't know. But again, the executive women, maybe they have different triggers, and versus the straightforward men and the fashion-focused men made all this up. But you would fill this sheet out. And what that's going to give you is really great insight into the communication priorities of different customers at different levels of the purchase funnel. And then what you can do is, 1, use this to create your storylines. That's where we're coming back to. And 2, to think about which social media channels and which content marketing channels, your website, your blog, your newsletter, your Google ads, all that other stuff, which messages are you using every platform for, right? So you might be using, so that, do this exercise. Take the time. If you have a team, sit down and talk through it. If you've done some interviews with your stakeholders, maybe you did short phone interviews with 10 customers, your 10 best customers. Put their sentiments in here, or use this as the basis for creating a survey. So that you're asking a question or 2 for each stage of the purchase funnel. You fill this 5 by 5 by 5 planner out, and then back to the deck. there was also these sections at the bottom for facts about your products and services or offering, anything cool about the process, and anything really noteworthy about your culture, your team, your people. Okay, so just get that all down on one page. Then what you'll do is take a step back and take a look at it. What emerges from the data? What trends are you seeing? What does it look like is important across all? And what is important for like your number one target audience? So, and what you want to do is to create 3 to 5 categories or labels, storylines, things that you're going to talk about on social media. So some examples are with a charity. When we did this with them, their storylines were: 1 was charity trends, tracking them, setting them, learning from them. How are charities operating, surviving, and thriving? What can we learn and teach to help continuously improve charity operations? Another one was peer-to-peer fundraising, advice on how to create, launch, manage, and measure peer-to-peer events. Another one was fundraising advice, tips, tricks, tools, and lessons for improving fundraising. Another one was shared success, highlighting and promoting the progress, success, and impacts of fundraising. And then a behind the scenes with the team. Another one, a law firm. The law, your rights and obligations. So what does the law say? What are your rights? What to expect? So if you need a lawyer, what does that look like? That's a scary space. Solving your problems. How can the law firm help you? Like, what specific information can they and should they share online in order to help you solve your problems? Choosing a lawyer, giving the audience all of the decision-making criteria they need in order to choose a lawyer. And then working with us. So what does it look like to work with our team? So for that hair salon example, maybe when you've stopped and you've filled out the sheet and you've looked through, it's trends and inspiration. Maybe it's color, that's your salon's specialty is color. So you have a whole storyline around color. There's tons of stuff to teach and learn and that people care about in the purchase funnel about color. Maybe it's how to choose a stylist that matches you. So if we know that each of them, one of the triggers is they didn't like their old stylist, or they've been through a million and haven't really found someone who fits them, or one of the biggest barriers to purchase is they're not sure if you're really going to get them, then maybe that's a good storyline. So that's the idea. I can't give you exactly what the storylines are, but do a deep dive into who you're trying to reach and how they buy or don't buy from you and why, and then take a step back and see if you can't distill that into 3 to 5 categories or storylines that you're going to talk about. Looking at the time here. Then create a tab in that same worksheet. Create a tab for each storyline, because this next step is brainstorming. So now it's time to brainstorm within each of those storylines, within each of those content categories, within each of those topics. Brainstorm 100. 100, you heard it. Topics, ideas, questions, misconceptions, stories, proof points, things around that topic. Don't think about social media yet. Just think about what's interesting and what's valuable and what do you know and what don't they know and what do they think they know but they're totally wrong and you wish you could clear it up. And write that down. And I would say dig deep. Don't be afraid to give it all away. This isn't the time to say, oh, we don't want to say that on the internet. This is a brainstorming time. Get as much as you possibly can down. 100 topics minimum per storyline. So this, again, could be why you can't go 4 shades lighter in one appointment. It could be 3. This is under the color. So under the color storyline, these are the kinds of ideas you'd write down. Why you can't go 6 shades lighter in one appointment. Ways to protect your color after an appointment. How to tell your stylist what color you really want. Like you're thinking about as many or maybe it's like the different brands, what the different brands bring. Like, is dark hair color actually poisonous for you? Like, you're thinking as many things as you can, get them written down, no bad answers, okay? Then you're going to, on that same You've got your 5x5x5 in one tab. You've got one tab for each of your storylines, and you're getting as many ideas as you can in there. If you have a team, you share it with a few people on your team, they get as many of their ideas. Maybe their questions, maybe their topics, maybe their blog post titles, maybe they're just bullet points. Doesn't matter. Get the raw data in there. Then you're going to step back. Go have lunch. Come back the next day, whatever. Take some time away and look at them. And think about, now's the time to sort through and prioritize. What's good, what's great, what's not good, what could you say online, what wouldn't you want to say online, what might be good but just isn't a priority right now, what would be cool but it's probably too hard to tell that story cost-wise. And then sort that list, like have a column that says high, medium, or low, or maybe color the rows yellow, red, or green. Sort those lists into your priority, high, priority, medium, and low priority topics. And so what you should have is maybe 20 or 30 or 40 high priority topics within each of your storylines. These are things that are really important for your audience in order to move through that purchase funnel. They need to know. And not only do they need to know, they would be excited to know. That would be engaging for them because you've thought about where are they now, what value you can offer, and what promised land that you can give to them with your service, product, or offering. And all of these data points, all of these topics are kind of the bricks in the pathway to getting there. So you've got this now prioritized list, organized by content categories. That's what makes this manageable. That's also what makes it in the future when maybe someone on your staff comes and says, oh, we should talk about X. And you're like, that's just not, it's not a high priority and it's not in our wheelhouse. It's not one of the 3 to 5 big things that we actually talk about. Or you might see something that's really working for someone else in a totally different industry, but when you reflect back on your strategy, you're like, it just doesn't actually fit because we're talking about these things in these ways on these platforms for a reason, because we've done all this hard work in developing this strategy. Whew, you with me? Then, the next step, so now you've got an Excel doc with some tabs, right? They're prioritized by, they're prioritized. Now you're going to open a calendar, okay? So this could be maybe you're doing this quarterly, maybe you're doing this every month, maybe you're doing this seasonally, like if you have a longer than a quarter season. Quarterly, do this quarterly. Open a calendar and look at those 3 months and say, what's happening in our business each month? Do we have a trade show? Who's going to a trade show this month, guys? Anybody? Are there trade shows? Are there deadlines? Do you have jobs? Do you have job openings? Do you have new staff joining? Are there any milestone celebrations? What's happening in the cultural calendar? Are there holidays, seasons, deadlines, events, celebrations, milestones, campaigns? What's going on in the world? What is your audience doing this month? Are they planning? Are they relaxing? Are they celebrating? Are they lamenting? Okay? So it's like, if we think about February, people are doing their taxes, right? People are planning for the summer. People are, Christians are doing Lent. It's Black History Month, right? So think about what is happening with your audience, what is happening in the culture. It's Valentine's Day. And then think about what's happening in your business. There's this idea called trend surfing. So trend surfing is a social media concept wherein if you know there's stuff trending in the world, that you're creating content to kind of tap into that momentum, to tap into that excitement, to tap into what everyone else is doing. So if we use Valentine's Day as an example, your Valentine's Day, people are looking for Valentine's Day content before Valentine's Day. They're looking for gift guides, they're looking for recipes, they're looking for date ideas, they're looking for the history of Valentine's Day. I don't know, they're looking for all that stuff long before Valentine's Day. So if you have stuff that you want to talk about for Valentine's Day, think about that, the crest of that wave of online activity and conversation and looking and value adding is happening before the event in most cases. So you can actually, there's ways to find this out online. You can look at Google Trends and it will show you, like you can look at last year before Valentine's Day, when were people talking about it? It'll show you the days. And then you want to make sure that that's reflected in your content. So if you've got a great Valentine's Day promotion, think about that's maybe not just happening on Valentine's Day and the day before, but the first week of the month, for example. Make sure you're not too late with your great content is what I'm trying to say. And then also consider that in social media, you're going to have proactive and reactive content. So there's always going to be content that you are planning and creating events very proactively, and stuff that you're reacting to after it happens. And some of those reactive things you can plan for. For example, the Golden Globes. Okay, so if you run a fashion brand and you know you're going to do something about Golden Globes fashion, you can't create the content. You can't have that ready to go, plug and play before the Golden Globes happen. But you can plan for content around that. We know we're going to be on social media talking about this. We know we want to do a best and worst list. We know we want to have a video that really deconstructs a specific dress or looks at the trends or whatever. So when you're planning your strategy, make sure you're planning far enough ahead for things that are happening in the moment so that you're not staying up all night trying to invent something because you've got a framework ready to plug the real-time authentic, the real-time content into. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's take a look. Okay, so if I was doing this for February, which I'm too late, obviously it's March, but imagine we were. So we know it's Black History Month. We know there's a bunch of holidays. Groundhog Day, Valentine's Day, Family Day, there's a Lunar New Year. We got Shrove Tuesday and Ash Wednesday. We got World Bartender Day, and there's a full moon, right? We also know, so get all of the kind of cultural things or things that your audience might be doing into the calendar. Then the next thing you want to layer in is, what other content are you guys creating? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a blog post? Are you guys doing any webinars? What else is your company doing content-wise? Make sure that's noted. Then the sales promotion. You know you're having a big 4-day sale from the 19th to the 22nd. Make sure that that's in there. You know your CEO, the owner of the business, is going to be on a podcast of another person's podcast on Friday the 5th, or any other PR, any other events, any other kind of notable things. Get that in there. You know that your industry's big conference is coming up in March, right? So it's not in February, but you know it's coming up. Make sure that that's noted. And this is where you're going to start to layer in what's happening in the world that people are going to be talking about, thinking about, doing, that you're going to intersect with them in these places and spaces. And you're going to overlay what are your content categories, what are your storylines, and how would your storylines connect into these. So like if you're the hair salon and you know, but based on your 5x5x5, that Valentine's Day is a special event for a lot of people, and so they might want to be doing something with their hair in advance of Valentine's Day. That's something that, again, it's like a flag for you that, that's an important trigger buyer purchase funnel event, so we should be creating content around that on our social media, and you plan backwards from there. So let's take a look at, okay, so that's, in step 4, you're really fleshing out the calendar and all of the stuff that's happening. In step 5, now you're laying your storylines over that. So which of your storylines are most appropriate in this space, this month or this quarter? Which of your topics are going to be most effective in this time, in this place, when people are in this headspace? What other content do you have scheduled for your content marketing? And then you can start to break those topics down into social posts. But it's this idea of really strategically and smartly layering your content, what you want to say, what you want to teach people about, with where are they in the world, like physically but mentally and emotionally intentionally so that you can be adding value. You can be laying the bricks of that purchase path for them in a way that makes them feel really seen and valued and that you're helping in their lives. You're with me? So those are the 5 strategy steps. Again, all of that hinges on really understanding who your audience is and taking the time to meaningfully fill out that 5 by 5 by 5. But that is how all of that stuff really should happen before you start drafting your social media posts, okay? So now, once you've got that done, you've got some of those foundation pieces in place. You understand what the calendar looks like and what are the things our brand talks about on the internet. Now we can start to actually schedule content, start to actually break down those big topics and those cool ideas from those tabs into specific tweets or videos or Instagram posts. So it's important to first note that there's different kinds of social content, right? So there's that planned strategic content focused on trust building, is surfing the trends, is full of value driving expertise, is maybe educating them. It has high production value. It looks good. It looks like maybe a photographer shot it. Maybe it's an edited video. Maybe you've got makeup on. It looks good. And then there's all that fun connection building behind the scenes content, which is just as important. Now you don't have makeup on. Now you're working late and you're showing you unboxing boxes and hanging clothes on a rack. You're showing the behind the scenes stuff. You're showing your team at a staff meeting. You're showing the cool. We think it's cool. The little vent that sucks up all the hair at the hair salon after all you have to do is sweep it to the corner and it's gone. That's this kind of fun connection building stuff. Yes, we care. Your audience cares about all those fun, little weird behind-the-scenes stuff. And then there's real-time content. So someone dies, someone wins, something of note happens out in the world. You're on the ground, you're at an event, you're feet on the street, you're at the source of a story, and you want to be able to tell people about it. Or your metrics are telling you in real time to do more of this. It's something, it's blowing up, you want to do more of it. That's going to maybe interrupt or trump what's in your actual calendar. And it's important to know that there's different content mediums, right? So again, it's going to depend on which platform you're using, but also which features within the platform you're using. So there's long form content, short form content, micro content. You've got to think about hashtags. Within images, there's photos and graphics and infographics. Within video, there's produced live interviews, stories, reels, and then there's curated content. So stuff that your users are posting and you're sharing, or stuff that Starbucks is posting and you're sharing. So again, when we go to map this stuff out, think about not just what topic are we talking about, but what medium are we using, and what's the workflow process that has to go into creating that content, because you probably can't just create an infographic overnight, or you can't create a long-form essay overnight where a tweet might be easy for you to just tap out at once. So think about the types of content and that you're using more than one, and then think about the content mediums and the implications that that's going to have on your schedule. And always be prepared. So, know that different platforms need different content fuel. So some content you need to plan ahead for, some content you need to capture in the moment, and some content you need to plan ahead to ensure you're ready to capture in the moment. So there's so much content that's happening in real time, and that's some of the best social media content. It's free because all you have to do is use your phone to capture what's happening, or tweet out what's happening, or film what's happening. But if you're caught flat-footed because you haven't thought about it in advance, and now you don't have a phone and nobody's thing, and there's no one to do it, and you want to be in it, and there's no one, then that content just slips away. It's just down the drain because you weren't ready to capture it when it was happening. So you have to start almost thinking like a content creator as you're going about your day, because there's tons of free content, free and easy real-time content, but you have to be prepared in advance. And then just note that it's not appropriate appropriate to just blast the exact same post across different channels. That's actually penalizing your audience for following you in more than one spot. But it is appropriate to talk about the same topics on different channels. So if you're talking about Golden Globes fashion, it's totally appropriate to talk about that on all of your channels on the same day, but it's not just blasting up the exact same caption and image, or a video and caption on the same channels. So that means that you may have to plan ahead to get the right content captured for each platform. Okay, so let me show you an example of this. So February, this is the calendar. You've already filled it out with the stuff that's happening. So one way to schedule your content is to say, okay, this is just for Instagram. My business on this is just on Instagram. We know we're going to put a Instagram post out for each of our blog posts, and we're also going to put an Instagram post and some stories out on the day our CEO's on the podcast to get as much buzz about that as we can. We're also going to publish on each of these three kind of big holidays we know are big for our audience. So we're going to publish on those. We're also, leading up to Valentine's Day, going to do this series of Instagram stories where we talk to kids about love, and it's going to be this really fun, cute series that ladders up perfectly into our content categories. And then we're going to, leading it into this 4-day sales promotion, we're going to go heavy. We're going to be talking about on stories in real time. We're going to be talking to the camera, showing the products, showing the what's new, showing what's on sale, showing how deep the discounts are. And then we're going to have four Instagram posts, one for each day of the sale, with really awesome captions. Then heading into our big industry conference on the 3rd, we're going to be doing like a lead up the week before we head into the conference, and we're going to do an IGTV video of us on site on the Wednesday at the conference. So that's one way to schedule it, right? Which is to say, what's in the calendar, what kind of promotions do we have, and then how can we use Instagram to get the word out. Another way to do it is starting with the same calendar, and you're taking a bit of a different approach. So you're saying, for our business, every Monday for February, we're doing a Black History Month post. So we're gonna call it Monday Mentions. That's terrible. I should have said something before. You're gonna call it Monday Mentions, and on Monday you're gonna feature a Black entrepreneur in your industry or in your space or in your community on Mondays. So you're going to have a series like that. And then you're going to do an Instagram and IGTV every Wednesday. When your blog posts go out, you're going to do a corresponding IGTV where you either interview the person who wrote the blog post, or you're going to talk about the topics that were in the blog post on Wednesdays. And then you're going to do these Instagram Reels. So those are they're going to take a bit longer to do. You're going to plan them in advance for Lunar New Year, Valentine's Day, and heading into the end of the month. You've got these reels in advance because you really want to be using all of the features. And then you've got daily stories. And in each of these daily stories, you're going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. And so that's another way to schedule your content. Again, the content needs to ladder up into those content categories or those storylines. Those storylines are born from what does our audience need to know at certain points in the purchase funnel to engage with us meaningfully and eventually buy, right? So, and there's 300 different ways. And if we were in person, if we were in a workshop, we would do this, right? And we would move the pieces around and talk about specifically your business and who your audience is and what are they doing and what are the important milestones each quarter. But this is a way in which you can sit down quarter by quarter or month by month and map out the content that you need for that month in one page and in one day. So let me show you too, right? So we talk about one topic. It doesn't mean that one topic is one post and you never talk about it again, right? One topic from that tab within one idea within that storylines tab can result in 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 Instagram or social media posts. So this is a physio clinic, and they did a whole month. It actually was 2 months focused on motor vehicle accidents. a huge part of their audience, no, a huge number of their clients come for physiotherapy after they've been in a car accident. So they wrote a blog post about the road to recovery after a motor vehicle accident. Then we post on Facebook. One of their channels we post about for the next month. We're talking about motor vehicle accidents. What questions do you have? So then it gives people an opportunity to weigh in about what questions they have. Then we share the article on Facebook, and we create an infographic about motor vehicle accidents in Canada on Facebook. And we're sharing on Instagram about shoulder injuries and how aquatic therapy helps shoulder injuries that have been acquired in motor vehicle accidents. And we do a carousel of what to expect on a rehab journey. What is the initial assessment? How do you pay for it? What does insurance cover? How often would I go? Those kinds of things. And then we take a closer look at whiplash. Whiplash is one of the most specific things that they look at or that they see. We talk about the symptoms and why it's so important to have it looked at professionally and not just kind of tough it out. Then we take a look at all of the different symptoms that can come from motor vehicle accident to typical injuries and why it's important for people to be seen. And then we have a specific call to action saying if you or someone you know has been in a motor vehicle accident, you've got to read this article, that first article that we shared earlier in the month. So all of that content is about motor vehicle accidents. We're sharing different sides, different facets of that story on the different platforms in different ways we're giving article links, infographics, specific symptoms that people can really self-identify with. We're giving them exercises that would happen in the pool. We're teaching them how to buy from us. We're moving through the 5x5x5 with different social media posts all about motor vehicle accidents. So motor vehicle accidents isn't one of their storylines, but motor vehicle accidents would have been one of the topics within that storyline that we've now fleshed out into a whole pile of social media posts. Make sense? Let's take another look. So these guys are hiring a new marketing person. It's the same message that goes out on it's not the same day, virtually the same day, on different channels, but it's written in different ways. So on Twitter, it has a graphic and it has a link and it's short. On Facebook, it's got emojis, it has a link. On their other platforms, they have a video with someone talking about the business and the role. So it's the same message, but treated different ways for different platforms. And again, if you're sitting down with your strategy and you're getting this all done at once, you can see that takes less time than if you're doing it at the last minute, piece by piece. Okay, let's take another look, because I just really want to give you guys a ton of examples. So in this example, there's a monthly newsletter that this business sends out to their audience. And in that monthly newsletter, there is a video intro, there's some tips, there's a thought leadership article, and there's upcoming dates. And so let's say this is a thrift shop, okay? So they also have an Instagram, a Twitter, and a Facebook account. So let's talk about how you would take that monthly newsletter content and turn it into a whole pile of social media content. So first we'll look at Instagram. So just from the content that's already being created in this newsletter, you're going to share the article. LIB means link in bio. So you're going to share the article on Instagram with the link in the bio. Maybe you're going to post the top tips. So there's some in the news and tips section. There's some tips on how to find the best thrift finds in the fall, or for the spring. We're in February. We're in this best spring thrifting tips. Then you're going to launch a 7-day challenge. This is just a fun idea. Based on those article tips, you're going to launch a challenge that asks your audience to either go thrifting and try to use those tips. Maybe you're going to challenge them to find things within their own closet based on those tips that they could apply those thrifting tips to their own closets. And then every day for that 7 days, you're posting stories and live interviews and challenge posts on Instagram. You're posting UGC, user-generated content. So as your audience starts doing the challenge and posting their content using your hashtag, then you're reposting their posts. You're creating a reel, an Instagram reel based on the challenge. You're posting a story where you're just scrolling through the newsletter and talking about it, not related to the challenge. You're posting a story version on Instagram of that video intro. So you're not just sharing the video intro, but maybe at the same time you film the video intro, you're also filming a little Instagram story intro that you're then sharing later. You're posting upcoming date reminders in the stories, and maybe you create a little cute graphic with a quote from the article on Instagram. All of that just using the bits and pieces that's already been created, you then transform it into social content. Just have to be careful because I'm running short on time here. The same is true for Twitter. So again, maybe on Twitter you're sharing the article, you're tweeting out a handful of quotes or facts from the article, you're tweeting out the challenge, you're directing people over to Instagram for the challenge information, you're tweeting out the dates, some graphics, you're sharing the post twice, the article twice, because Twitter moves quite quickly, you're tweeting about the challenge. And then on Facebook, maybe you're doing a newsletter promo post. So you're right before the newsletter comes out, you're doing a post saying, "Hey, if you want our newsletter, it's got 7 tips for the best spring thrifting. You got to sign up now." Maybe you do a Facebook Live where you present the tips. Maybe it's an interview. Maybe it's just you as a business owner. Maybe it's you and the staff. Maybe it's you guys going through the racks at the store. But you're doing that on Facebook live broadcasting. You share the link to the article. You're doing a challenge promo for 12 days before and after. You're planning that out to be promoting people to head over to Instagram and talking about the challenge. You're writing a Facebook-specific post about this article, so you're taking some of the key ideas from the article and making kind of a longer Facebook post, and you're creating a graphic quote, okay? So you could, as you're planning your newsletter, you can then, again, looking at the calendar and what's happening and what channels you're using, you could then sit down and say, okay, we need these tweets, these quotes, these facts, and 3 graphics, and get those all banged out in a day, loaded up, ready to go, so it doesn't feel like you need every single day to be creating new content for social media. Now, you want to create like the stories you're going to be doing each day, but you have a plan for what those stories should be. Okay, today I need to do a story about X, or today we're going to film this bit in the store about Y. So it doesn't feel like every day, oh, what am I going to put on the internet? But rather it's like, okay, today I need to do this, today I need to do that. And you're leaving space in that for some of that, the world's most famous thrifter has just died and you want to have a memorial to them. God forbid, rest in peace, famous thrifter. You want to make sure that there's space in that calendar for these things to happen. You guys, I forgot to tell you off the top, but we are giving away 2 copies, digital copies of You on the Internet, this awesome book written specifically for small business owners about digital marketing. It's written by a Toronto-based female author who's the owner of Camp Tech, who is the workshop provider for this Digital Main Street series. I have a paper copy. You'll be getting a digital copy. Libby will be telling you who the winners are in the chat right now. Check the chat. All you have to do is be here to win. She's choosing people randomly. I hope you win. If you didn't win, I would recommend that you buy this from a bookstore because it's a really awesome book for people like us. Okay? I've got 15 minutes and a few really important slides, so we're going to zip, but I hope that all of this doesn't feel overwhelming, but rather is flooding you with ideas and feelings of opportunity for what you could do for your business. If you've read through that and you're like, oh God, I still just don't know where to start, these are my easy things that you can inject into your content calendar. Every month, insert a social post on every channel where you introduce yourself. So whether you've got a whole ton of new followers or not, introduce yourself. Who are you? What's your business about? Why do you do it? What does your day look like? What is the most important thing? Like, to introduce yourself. Maybe a different introduction, talking about different facets of your life, but every month introduce yourself. Look for ways to feature your talent. So whether it's takeovers, where you're giving your delivery guy your Instagram account for the day, and he films little videos or posts video or takes pictures of him delivering your vegan meals all day. Or maybe you do an interview with someone on staff, or you do a day in the life of, or a profile of your staff or of your clients. But feature your talent. They're already there. They're already working. Make the most of your website. Look at your blog, your landing pages, the product photography you have, and think about where you can insert that in your content calendar, in your social media calendar. Because that stuff's already done, it's already made, it's already written. Are there ways in which you can direct people to the right spots or feature really cool parts of your luxury leather bags by just sharing product photography and words that are already on that product page on the website? Get creative with curated content. So think about ways in which you can use the content from other people on the internet with permission, of course. And take advantage of user-generated content. So if you are using a hashtag, you're saying, if you love our coffee, we're an awesome coffee shop, and you have it written on the blackboard by your menu saying, share your photos drinking our coffee using hashtag store name coffee 21, something better than that. Then you would go into your Instagram or whatever you're using, searching by the hashtag and resharing the content that those people have created featuring your products or services. That's user-generated content. Okay, so this is a whole pile of moving parts and ideas, starting with your goals. Who is your audience? What are your story, or what's that 5x5x5? What are the storylines that fall out of that? What are the key categories of things you need to be talking about? Within those categories, what are the 100 ideas per category of all the stuff that would add value to these people's lives? Prioritizing those into high, medium, and low, and then juxtaposing them over the calendar around what's happening in your business, what's happening in the culture, and what's happening in the lives of your clients. Then you're thinking about ways in which you can take those big topics and cut them up into 100 more little pieces, like we talked about: images, posts, videos, reels, IGTV, series, really getting creative. Now, in order to be successful doing this, you need a calendar to keep you organized, strategic, and consistent. And there's so many ways to use an editorial calendar. And there's so many types of editorial calendars. So I have this. It's called the Content Planner. The person who makes it is a woman in Toronto. It's a box. Inside the box is a paper. It's a paper planner. Let me show you, that you would actually fill out on paper. It's got stickers for the different channels you're using. It's got all sorts of stickers and things that you would use to plan offline. So you're using paper. That's for some people, using paper is a really effective way to get digital. So that might be something, whether it's that or there's a bunch of other paper-based planners. If you're a tactile person, you really want something to write on, those planners exist. There's also Excel. So an editorial calendar doesn't need to be so fancy. It could be something like this, like an Excel doc, or like if it's a Google sheet that says, what's the platform, what's the date, when am I going to post it, what kind of content is it, what's it going to say, is there a link, am I using hashtag, like just something that keeps you organized by day. So if you Google editorial calendar template and then Excel or Google Sheets, a whole pile will come up, and then you can browse through them and see if there isn't an Excel version that works for you. especially if you're the only one who's touching this. Like you're the content creator, you're the content publisher, you're the content strategist. Then it doesn't need to be super complicated. The more people who touch it, you may have like reviewed, approved, status. You may have those columns as well, and different templates will have different inclusions. Or you can pay. This is CoSchedule. I pay to have a CoSchedule membership, and in CoSchedule you can create. You can have your posts pre-scheduled with your graphics, with your messages by channel. So there's a Twitter, that's a Facebook, that's a LinkedIn. You can preview them here. You can schedule them. Obviously, 1, 2, 3 is a terrible, but you can see what it would look like, and then you can have it all in one place. And a lot of these schedulers will also publish. So on using a scheduler, like an editorial calendar / scheduler, you put them in, you schedule them for what time they go, and then the CoSchedule actually publishes them on your behalf. So you don't actually have to log into the channels to publish them. It's kind of more set it and it happens. So, but that I don't know what that costs me, $200 a year or something. Not a lot. And there's tons of different scheduling. So Hootsuite, HubSpot, Later. There's tons, and they're all great. And if you would ask all of my industry people, everyone has a favorite that they use. And a lot of time it's the one that they're the most comfortable with, or has the best reporting for their needs. So I would invite you to browse around. They usually have like a 7-day free trial to see what kind of editorial calendar would be best for you. Things to watch for in your editorial calendar, right, is the frequency. How often are you posting, and is it enough? One of the biggest mistakes that people make using social media for their business is they just aren't posting enough to meet the demands of the channel. So it's like, imagine if you go to the party, you're dressed right, you got a bunch of great things to say, but you only stay for 5 minutes. Not enough people are going to see you. Not enough people are going to talk to you. And so you're missing out. You got to be there on the channel with enough content. How often are you using the different social media platform features? So the editorial calendar will make it more clear for you. Am I only using Instagram main feed posts? Am I using stories? Am I using reels? Am I using enough of the features? Ideally, same thing on Facebook. Ideally, you want to be using as many features as possible. Relevancy. So the editorial calendar is also going to help you see, are you posting the best content at the best times? Are you connecting with the events in the cultural calendar? Or are you connecting with the seasons or cycles in your industry? So you'll be able to see at a glance with an editorial calendar, like, oh, maybe the Friday before the Family Day long weekend isn't the right time to say X, right? Because no one will see it, or because they don't care about that at that exact moment because they're going skiing or whatever that looks like. And then the topics. So when you've got an editorial calendar, when you've got it mapped out by quarter, you can see, are you covering all the storylines? Are you covering enough storylines? Are you posting enough variety? Do those posts work together? And if you explore the different levels of that purchase funnel, you'll be able to see, is all of your content at that trigger level and nothing teaching people how to buy? Or is all of the content about how to buy and nothing teaching your audience why to buy? So the editorial calendar will help you see where there might be some gaps. The paper planner is called the Content Planner. I think it's contentplanner.ca or .com. She also has really great social media. I often will use her social media, her Instagram, as an example of great educational Instagram content. So I think it's at Content Planner. Sorry, that question just came through the chat. Okay, so these are other than just keeping you scheduled. These are other reasons why an editorial calendar is so helpful in executing your strategy. But here's what I would say to avoid. Don't be too pre-planned. Again, we want to make this totally manageable, sustainable, lots of great content, all adding up to strategic goals, all being authentic, all adding value. We want all those things. And the best way to do that is to plan, like we've been talking about. But if you're too pre-planned, you run the risk of people thinking, that nobody's on the other end of that channel because it's just something that's been planned. You run the risk of missing out on the magic of the inherently social, in the moment nature of social media, and you run the risk of talking about the wrong things at the wrong time because the Mars space lander has actually exploded. It hasn't, but it's actually exploded, and now everyone's talking about that, and you're talking about something that's totally different and maybe insensitive towards the Martians. These are things that you can find yourself, your channel can find itself in conflict with that authenticity that's too pre-planned. Remember that you often have to plan for spontaneous content. So in order to capture content spontaneously, you have to often plan for it. Don't set it and forget it. And don't forget to engage with your followers, okay? This is the number one, maybe I said something else was number one. This is one of the most frustrating things that I see is you spend all this time, all this money, all this thought, all this effort in creating awesome content, and then you forget that when someone asks you on Instagram, does aquatic therapy work for someone with X, Y, and Z? And then that comment just kind of hangs there, and nobody answers it, nobody engages with it, or people are saying, "Oh my God, I love this thrift store. They always have the best shoes," and then it just sits there, and you haven't reciprocated, you haven't engaged with that person. Those are such that is the disconnect between a business that's doing social media for doing social media and a business that's creating a community on social media. With 2 minutes to go, I will say that all of this is about planning, executing it, and then seeing what's working, what's not working, and learning from that, and then planning again. So again, you want to be planned far enough in advance that it's sustainable and strategic, but you also want to be flexible enough to pivot and change and learn from what your audience is telling you. So if you get amazing engagement using Instagram Reels over Instagram posts or Instagram stories, start doing more Reels. Or if you're spending a lot of money on a lot of time on Instagram Reels and nobody's watching them, but you do get a lot of engagement on Instagram stories, then maybe do less Reels and more stories. That's the kind of stuff you want to be checking as you're going. So that was a fast and furious introduction to planning social media content. I really hope that I've given you some tools and those 5 strategic steps in which you can break down your business into bite-sized, really attractive and engaging social media content that's published at just the right time so that your audience wants to engage deeper with your brand. You're going to want to check out camptech.ca/social strategy to get the handout, and I believe that the workshop link is also there, the worksheet link is also there, but let me fire it back up here just to make sure you have it. It's camptech.ca/5x5x5x. So, oh no. So that is where you will access the worksheet. So again, it's a view only here at this camptech.ca/5x5x5. It's a view only Google sheet. You'll make a copy of it and then you can edit it yourself. Okay, we did it. I wish you the best of luck with your social media posting. There are some upcoming workshops on Digital Main Street here, including one with me next week where we're talking about creating awesome website copy. So if you think your website might need a refresh, or your website isn't really capturing your brand's voice and tone, join me next week, but there's also, I think, some other workshops available for free, on this link, so check that out as well. Okay, have a great night. Really appreciate your time. Take care. Thanks for coming.